Pay attention to the three large stars in space. In the next frame, we observe the ship from a different angle, but the same stars are still visible in the frame. Obviously, the authors used the same background for space scenes. Nostromo moves to the board, encircled by a ring. On the left side it is directed downwards, and on the right it is already up, and slightly curved. This is possible if the ring was in the shape of an 8, but later it is perfectly clear that it is quite ordinary. Everyone on the ship is asleep and the monitor screens are reflected in their helmets. The image should be mirrored, but this does not happen. Interestingly, there is no dialogue in the first 6 minutes of the film. Most of the time the camera shows the interior of the tugboat. At some point she crashes into an obstacle. Listen to the sound of impact. It's a very long time to fly to Earth, so the team plunged into suspended animation. Halfway through, they are woken up by the main computer, but the so-called watering birds on the table are still working. This is possible only if there is water in its body and glass opposite, which should have evaporated a long time ago. The model range of clothes for sleeping in 2122 was clearly developed by a man. The guys were given huge diapers, and Ripley got a thin strip of fabric, which is almost useless.
Alice, Mother wants to talk to you.
Yes, yellow lights for my eyes only.
At the entrance to the room, one light bulb burned out, and immediately starts working, and in the menu of the main computer the word, alignment, is written with an extra letter, L. Creating the illusion of endless corridors of a huge tugboat is not an easy task, and the authors went to a little trick. They used mirrors. In this scene you can see how the receding backs of the heroes are reflected from behind.
Out here?
Acoustical beacon, it repeats at intervals of 12 seconds.
During the landing, the frames are saturated with various devices and monitors on which the name of the Wayland Corporation is noticeable. The letter, D, at the end for some reason was irretrievably lost. Next, the characters instantly analyze 4-digit numbers and decide based on them that it is possible to go outside. Zeros and ones, of course, also carry useful information for ordinary users. Well, wow, what a strong wind. The only problem is that it does not affect the steam released when the lock is opened in any way. Flashlights in spacesuits shine almost in the face, but this does not prevent researchers from crossing the mountainous terrain in the dark and entering the alien ship. Here they are waiting for a dead alien of gigantic size. Please note that his head is 5 times larger than a human, but it is worth getting closer and it shrinks to normal size. All because in the general plan Ridley Scott outwitted the audience, using not adults, but small children in the frame. That's why it seems that everything here is gigantic.
Looks like it's grown out of the chair. Fossilized.
Nothing like that. A fossil is the mineralized remains of creatures that are most often found in the ground. The dead pilot is protected from the external environment, and it would be more correct to say that his body was mummified. And why it became so dark here, just because everything was perfectly visible even without lanterns. Due to the fact that the actors' spacesuits are not real, the glasses were constantly fogged up. They had to take off their helmets behind the scenes and wipe them from the inside. As a result, numerous stains were formed on the glasses.
Something has attached itself to him. We have to get him to the infirmary right away.
If we break quarantine, we could all die.
And then what is the meaning of the hierarchy of subordination, if any person on the ship can open the door with a slight movement of his hand and put everyone in danger? In general, the captain's decision to go on a sortie himself, taking with him another single pilot and a timid girl, does not stand up to any criticism. The best choice would be a flight engineer, technicians and Ripley. The duties of the latter look extremely unclear. She just walks and talks. Facehugger jumped on the helmet and then got to the face. He was able to do this only with the help of acid, but for some reason it did not turn his face into a bloody mess. In addition, I would like to know where the fabric hood disappeared to. The budget of the film went to the scenery and costumes. Apparently for this reason, the characters wear ordinary oxygen masks, to which tubes should be attached from below. It looks extremely hacky, even with a discount on time.
Now, we're assuming it's feeding him oxygen. If we remove it, could kill him.
Indeed, the creature inflates special bags. It's a pity that on the general plan this function is instantly disabled. Pay attention to the floor when acid burns through it. In fact, it is a foam, with a characteristic structure of grains. Further, the slurry burns through several levels, but the trace remains the same in different places. The patient is left in this state, and Ripley argues with the captain. One moment he was wearing a blue patch, and in the corridor it turned golden. Facehugger laid the larva and disappeared, which confused the crew. Of course, they did not turn on the light in the laboratory now. They are saving electricity. All the power was used to illuminate the lower part of the ship. The alien died, but at the moment of death decided to arrange another screamer for Ripley and us. It was possible to pull off such a trick with the help of a fishing line that passes through the actress' clothes. When it is pulled, the collar begins to move.
How you doing?
What's wrong?
An ultra-modern X-ray from head to toe, of course, did not show that there is another organism inside the patient, the size of a zucchini. The team doesn't care at all. An unknown form of life settled on Kane's face, and they did not even begin to isolate him and conduct the simplest tests. However, it is not surprising. The crew looks more like a random meeting than qualified operators of a space tug. Kane's t-shirt is not tucked into his pants, and a second later it was even fixed with a belt to achieve sufficient tension. Also hidden here is a hefty bag with blood and a pyropatron, and now the larva appears before us for the first time. He is huge in himself, with a long tail. His size would not allow him to hide in a person. Kane should have started writhing in pain on the couch, not before the monster hatched. When the camera follows the corridors, some kind of stick gets into the frame, perhaps a rod from the microphone. Soon the crew says goodbye to the deceased and sends the body into space. There is no external influence, it must rotate at the same speed.
I'll
Go and get it, man.
All right, you get him, we'll go on.
The ginger cat belongs to Ripley, but it is not she who goes to look for him, but an insignificant character, doomed not to live to see the finale. By this time, the stranger had grown 100 times, probably he had eaten too much breakfast cereals from the common table. A special inconspicuous cable helped him ominously descend from the ceiling.
Could Brett be alive?
No.
Bitch is huge. I mean, it's like a man. It's
I wonder how Parker knows about the size of the alien, if he has never seen him again. The team decides to lure the monster into the airlock and throw it into space. The captain goes to implement the most difficult part of the plan. Now we have an air duct in front of us. The rails at the bottom are too similar to those used to move a trolley with a camera. Probably for this reason, the hero shines not in the lens but in his face. It doesn't matter if Dallas is crawling up or down, he will be a dot on the monitor anyway. How did Lambert determine that he was moving in the wrong direction? Before his death, the poor man left the flamethrower and rushed to the stairs, but in a matter of seconds the weapon materializes out of nowhere.
We get the shuttle and just get the hell out of here.
Lambert.
Pick us up.
The shuttle won't take 4.
Since the Titanic, people have not learned anything, but on the contrary, the huge spaceship is equipped with only one single-person rescue ship. In the end, we find out that Ripley, a cat and a huge monster fit there, so there's plenty of room here, not just for 4, but for the whole crew. Up to this moment, the main character has not fought with anyone, but there is already a round swelling on her cheek. And again, the non-working light bulb comes to life in the next frame. Ripley presses the keys slowly, but the text appears on the screen very quickly, with an error. Here the letter R is missing. She is actually sitting in front of another monitor. The reflection on her face does not correspond to reality. Ash turned out to be a very strong android, and instead of wringing Ripley's neck, he began to shove a magazine into her mouth. Fortunately, colleagues came to the rescue and drove him away with a fire extinguisher, which bends like a rubber one. Next, the android still resists and suddenly loses the legs that were just in their places.
Bring back life form, priority 1. All other priorities rescinded.
Not much company and wants to get an alien. The crew is not prepared for such meetings. It would be possible to place even more androids or trained commandos in the team. When the ash burns out, an ordinary mannequin with monolithic eyes and a mouth that are unable to move emerges from under the skin. Next, Shuhoi attacks Lambert. She wore cowboy boots all the time, and now suddenly she's wearing sneakers. Parker unsuccessfully tries to help and breaks the pipe. Footage of the monster and the steam had already been used earlier, during the murder of Brett. The Nostromo space tug is of course equipped with a self-destruct system just in case, and the instructions for this were drawn with a red felt tip pen. Streaks and gaps are clearly visible on large letters.
Destruct system activated. The ship will detonate 10 minutes.
And 40-something seconds, to be exact. While Ripley is walking to the shuttle, you can again see special rails for the camera on the floor, and I would like to know how the precious cat runs through the closed doors from one part of the ship to another throughout the film. Also climbing the duct. By the end of the film, the alien became depressed and stopped attacking. Most likely he wants to come to Earth. In that case, why did he kill everyone else? Why didn't he immediately hide in a huge tugboat and wait for the arrival? When the villain finds himself in space and clings to the engine, a white rope appears on his torso.